Hello there. My name is Jessica, Harvard Medical School, and I'm the kind of artist that gets bored of using like my fancy drawing tablet or iPad to make digital art. Sometimes I like to make it with weird or old stuff. And in that spirit, today I'm going to be taking you through the process of how I recreated the Quaint Painting from Animal Crossing, aka the Milkmaid by Vermeer, only using a DS Lite, a DSi, and sometimes this terrible bendy stylus. It sucked. As you'll see throughout this video, if you like the things I make or enjoy watching me torture myself, you can support me by buying prints from my shop, and I also have like a Game Boy game and stuff if you like games, but I doubt any of you like games because those are for nerds. Or head over to my Patreon where I post exclusive videos of me showing you the process of how I made this painting and stuff. Okay, so before we get into this, you might be wondering how the hell one might draw on a DS. Well, a million years ago, a developer made a homebrew app called Colors, which you could load onto an R4 cartridge, like this one, which you put a micro SD card in, and you can basically like side load backup ROMs of games that you own and homebrew apps. I started drawing with the DS using Colors in like 2011, 2012. It was really nice to have like a little digital sketchbook that was like super portable. I could keep it on me when I was traveling or like at a convention or something, since this is before like portable drawing options were a lot more accessible, like there was no Apple Pencils or anything like that. You might recognize the app Colors because it got an official release for the 3DS on the eShop, and now has an even newer version on the Switch, which comes with like a neat little stylus, which is pretty cool. I think it's a really accessible way to get into digital art. I want to try it out to see if it's like a viable digital art making program, but it seems fun. And if I can, make something with this horrible thing, then a Switch would feel like a luxury. The weird thing about specifically DS Lites is that they actually have a pressure-sensitive touchscreen, but the DSi and the DS did not have pressure-sensitive touchscreens. Only the DS Lite did, and Nintendo never utilized this, literally ever. I think there's maybe one game where they utilized this, but Colors does. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to try using my DS Lite initially. Also because I think it's just like it's such a beautiful designed console. Like I really think this is like the best designed console. It looks so nice. I've had this since 2009 probably. So she has seen better days, as you will see. You'll find out. The homebrew itself is very minimalistic, but actually surprisingly functional. You have a fixed resolution canvas. You can zoom in and out and use an eyedropper with the D-pad. And the shoulder buttons open the brush and color selection tools, which there are like 3 brushes, a slider for size and opacity, and then a color spectrum that actually makes sense. See, it is not hard Apple and Microsoft. You can press both of the shoulder buttons at the same time to undo. The major drawback being you only have one undo. Put a pin in that for later. I decided on the Milkmaid by Vermeer for this decreation because I wanted to start remaking paintings that you could have in Animal Crossing, which are like kind of almost decreations in themselves because they're so scaled down. For those who aren't familiar with Animal Crossing, there's an art dealer in the game called Red who will sell you paintings that exist in real life but are renamed with like an adjective plus painting, like wistful painting, or in this case, quaint painting. You can display them in your home, trade them with friends, or donate them to the museum where you can view them, and they even include a little bit of art history about each one, like the fact that Vermeer was 25 when he did this painting, which I have absolutely no feelings about as a 31-year-old. Sometimes the paint Red will sell you will be a forgery, which will be indicated by a change to the appearance of the piece. These aren't worth anything and can't be donated to the museum. So you kind of have to be paying attention in order to decipher whether or not a painting is real or if it's fake. I thought it'd be a fun tie-in to use the DS for this because Animal Crossing Wild World came out for the DS. This is actually my original cartridge from like 2008 or 9 or whatever. So I wanted to make something that existed on the system in a different way. I don't know. I needed something to tie me to the mainstream culture here. I would love to continue doing this, so please let me know what other paintings from Animal Crossing games that you would like me to recreate. It doesn't necessarily have to be from Wild World. I would love to hear what you guys want me to make. Also, I want to try using Art Academy for the DS. It is better for actually painting, but you can't export your art with it on a DS Lite. So I didn't use it for this since my original goal was to use my DS Lite. I also picked up a Wii and this UDraw tablet that I'm hoping to use for my next video. Although, I don't even know. I want to make like a really simple video for my next one because this was horrible and I don't want to do this. I need a break from doing something this hard again. All right, with that out of the way, let's get started with decreating the quaint painting from Animal Crossing. Day 1. Oh, day 1. I was so naive, so innocent, totally unburdened by the reality of this undertaking, and blissfully unaware what was awaiting me. So this is day 1. Probably not going to get too far. I just wanted to kind of like set things up, you know, get things going. I'm hoping this will only take me 3 days. That's how long I'm hoping.
Wrong-o.
I decided it would be even funner to make this experience worse for myself by trying to use this really silly bendable stylus that can like wrap around your finger that I found on eBay. Where is it? Cosmo, are you laying on it? Yeah, it's about as useful as you might expect. So let's open up this bad boy. It comes with a little screen protector. I'm assuming that's because this damages the shit out of your screen. Ooh, so neat. Ow, these are like stuck. Oh, it comes with a microfiber cloth. Would you look at that? This has some really nice UV damage on it, where it's all like light in certain parts. It's funny. Yeah, this screen is a little damaged, but aren't we all? Nope. Not today, Satan. Get off of there. I don't want that on there. No. Plus the adhesive was kind of garbage anyway. Let's see what happens. My plan was to use this and the DS Lite for the whole thing, but that prospect got squashed pretty quickly. Oh, no, this sucks. Part of the reason why is because A, the screen on the DS Lite sucks. B, the top part of my screen kept turning on and off if I didn't have the hinge like just exactly so. And then my shoulder buttons started to break. But while I was still hopeful, I began by filling in the background with this sort of tannish color to work off of. And I also used a sort of like graphite color for sketching in the composition initially. This is when I realized how complicated this composition is. Vermeer was a master of perspective, and his compositions are deceptively complex because of how well they like emulate the way our eyes see the world. It kind of just feels natural, but when you go to recreate it on a 2D plane on a DS screen, it sort of throws you for a loop. I was afraid that I was going to really mess it up, so I broke the composition down into quadrants and then did the same on the reference that I was using. This is something I do with my traditional paintings all the time. Certain things you have to have 2 hands for, though, if you know what I mean. However, even with this grid, the composition was in fact still not accurate. And I made her way too big, especially her head, just like I did in the Notes app painting. But instead of restarting, which would have been the smart thing to do, I just continued, even though I knew it would cause problems later. I just didn't want to deal with it right then. And guess what? It did in fact cause problems later. Not necessarily problems, but just like more work for myself later. And just like the Notes app video, there was an attempt made to try and silence me by a man. This man specifically. Do you see this? Sexist pig. Yeah. Uh-huh. What? You need to chill out. You know what? You didn't do anything, Cosmo, because I forgot to plug my microphone in. Okay, well now you're just... No, please don't, actually. He's retaliating, folks. It was so hard to get straight lines because of how slippery the screen was and how little control I had over the finger stylus So after like an hour of trying to make this work, I kind of just gave up because it was really not great or fun for my body at all. No, all right. I'll go back to that gimmick later. But for now, I need to get serious, people. This is not a joke. What do you think? This is some stupid video on the internet? No, this is real life. Once I sketched out the main components, I started blocking in the big color areas like her outfit in the background. Wow, look at the color difference on these two screens. Oops. That's crazy. I don't know which one's more right. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I then laid out some basic shading on her face, put in the bonnet thingy, and called it a day because I was getting very frustrated with my DS and the stylus. Okay, nope, it's done. We're done. We're done. You're done. This is gay. You know, like stupid gay.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
I already have a feeling it's gonna take me more than 3 days. Okay. Okay. And that was the end of day 1. Day 2.
Ladies and gentledoms, it is day 2. I got my gay juice and my angry water. Okay, here he is. Here he is. And no, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Jesus. He is in the room with me. Do you feel God? Let's pray.
This is a lot heavier to hold. I don't like doing that. On day 2, I immediately gave up on my dreams of using my DS Lite and switched over to my Japanese DSi LL. I can't read Japanese, which is like a little bit of a problem, but I managed. The difference was day and night, and I was still attempting to use the finger stylus thingy as I hyper-focused on the face, blocking out all of the features in shadow planes before doing anything else. Don't do this. Okay, I can't use this anymore. So like, part of the whole deal with my spinal cord injury is, well, they don't actually know the deal, but if I like push down too hard on something, like, or grip something too tight, something about my nerves or my muscles goes haywire in my neck and my shoulder, and everything will just go completely numb. Don't you hate when you try to draw and your whole upper body goes numb? Going over to my normal tablet stylus made the experience so much better, and I think it works better on camera anyway, because my hand wasn't like directly in the way of what I was drawing. A strategy that I picked up from the Notes app painting is going in with a very low opacity brush and just adding subtle translucent layers of colors, which worked out well on the face once I had established those main shadow shapes. But it did end up like kind of backfiring in a few other places and had like a tendency to make it look a bit unrefined or like not confident because the brush was so like offensively digital. Putting the shadow around the left side of her face, our right, helped so much with grounding it all and made it feel so much more defined and three-dimensional. After working pretty much just on her head, I called it a day. Day 3. I did not go into day 3 with a good state of mind or energy. I'm so tired. Let's go. So what I think I'm gonna do is just go in around, not worry that I'm like hitting the edges of her thing, of her clothes. Luckily, the entire contour of her head is not touching the background, so I don't have to worry about like getting it on her face and then like having to I don't have to worry about getting it on her face and cleaning it up afterwards. Yay. Going into the background and solidifying that a little bit more before doing anything else with her was absolutely the right move, and I should have started it this way. I forgot that when you have no layers, the smarter thing to do is to work from back to front. So you aren't trying to like work around the foreground in the background, because it usually is like kind of easy to tell when you've done that if you don't do it like perfectly, and I'm not particularly good at it. Going in the wrong direction with my strokes here. Shut up. It's the little stuff of like how dark the background is on the left side compared to the right that you don't really notice until you're trying to remake it, which I think is one of the fun things about doing master copies. You don't really realize the complexity and the level of skill it takes to do something until you're trying to recreate it. I think you just gain such a better appreciation for art in general when you do master copies. It's one of the reasons why I like doing it. I learn something every time I do it. I also never really noticed the window on the left side of the composition. That might just be me though, but it's like surprisingly subtle for it being like a high contrast point. I was glad that one of the 3 brushes was a bit textured because I think that helped the background gradients feel a little bit more painterly and less kind of like sterile. Fuck, her head is still totally too big. Fuck. Shit. I can't. I can't. I was also realizing how hard it was going to be to get straight lines when working on this, even with the tablet pen, because of just how slippery the screen was. I had the thought of like maybe putting like a paper-like screen protector over it, but I don't know. I think that would have made the viewability even worse because it kind of like mattens everything. Is matten a word? Makes everything more matte. Then the first real uh-oh happened. If you watched my Notes app video, you know how serious an uh-oh can be. Whoa. This was like pretty bad in terms of the scale of whatever the hell happened. I'm not exactly sure what I did. I think maybe like my knuckle must have like hit the corner of the touch screen while I was holding the pen down, causing it to think that I like went from the pen location over to my knuckle and back. But I don't really know. But it wasn't disastrous because of how early on the uh-oh was. I did spend a good minute just kind of sitting in silence and quieting my inner demons.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
Luckily, thank God this was so early on because I would have been livid otherwise. Because unlike the Notes app one, there would have been no way to fix it. I took a break after working for a little while, and when I came back, I spent more time on blocking in the shadow shapes in her arms and her hands, and blocked in some of the props around the piece. There are so many dang things on that table. Also, I'm realizing, even at the smallest brush, it's not small enough to get in details, so I'm gonna, like, the little highlights around the rim. So I'm gonna have to, like, put the highlights in that are gonna be too big, and then work to cut them down, which is gonna be fun. Then the real uh-oh number 2 happened. No. Again, it's not that big of a deal. It's the principle of the matter, you know what I mean? And this is where that one single undo really started becoming very frustrating because none of this would have been a problem if I had more than one undo. I had it for the day. So after going in and putting in some more of the table items, I called it a day. Day 4. Something was in the air on day 4, and I was, for whatever reason, channeling my inner boomer. All right, folks. Day 4. I got my hair cut. Let's open up this bad boy. Or girl. God. See all this woke. Shit, I don't have my fucking stylus. Well, I'm quitting. Forgot my uniform. Why are you guys making me do this? God, it's like nobody wants to work anymore. Oh, I'm kind of cozy now, though. Didn't realize I was cold because I dissociate and am rarely in touch with my body and how it feels. This sucks. Sucks, dude. God. Gay. If you're gay, you're gay. Nope. I would rather peel my own skin off than look at the horizontally flipped version of this. I feel like maybe I'm not in the correct state of mind to be doing this. God, the screen is so slippery. It's like really hard to be precise because it just slips around all over the place. Like your mom last night. When I finally got to work, I started really dialing in the items on the table and realized I absolutely should have spent more time in the sketching phase getting the placement of all of the objects more exact because I kept having to move things around and erasing stuff, and things got a bit distorted and like are not super accurate to the original painting because of this. especially in like around the hands and the bowl and the cheese. Sometimes I'm like, should I get into forgery? Because I feel like my only skill is mimicking people. After quickly pondering my career path, I started to really render all of that cheese. And honestly, I kind of ate. Like some of the moments where the highlights glow on the cheese, which is the funniest thing to have glowing is just cheese on a table. But like it came out exactly how I hope it would. I love when like items have that sort of like glow around them in paintings. So at least I did that successfully. Apparently I'm pretty decent at painting cheese. I will say this has been technologically technically this has been easier. Bingo! But what I'm trying to do is much harder. So I'm struggling. You might be thinking to yourself, wow, this looks almost done. How much more could there really be to do? Which is the same thing I kept telling to myself every day until I finished. I believe that the last 5% of a painting takes 50% of the time. I can't believe I thought, like every day I thought I was going to finish, and every day I did not finish. That was the end of day 4. Day 5. Day 5 was honestly pretty uneventful and straightforward. Hi, it's day 5. Killing me. Oh, I've heard. I more or less did a lot of what I was doing on day 4, spending most of the time really tweaking where things go in the hands and the bowl area. But it was like kind of setting in like just how much detail I was going to have to render to make this look accurate. Like I couldn't kind of like bullshit it like I could on the Kid Pix one or the Mario Paint one, or even the Windows XP one, because those are like kind of chunky. Whereas like you really got to go all out with this one or else it's going to look like crap. What was helpful was going back into things with a very opaque brush to shade in like the arm and more solid areas, because I noticed like the transparent brush was just like not really looking great and not confident, and like the limited number of colors viewable on the DS screen was sometimes do odd stuff to subtle changes in the values, especially like in the darks, like things would just not look quite right, I think because it can't display that many colors. And I found this particularly happened the most with low opacity brushes, because it's trying to like make the most subtle changes between all of the colors. I ran out of space on my SD card without noticing, so I worked like for another hour, but I didn't have it on camera, which I really just spent the time sort of perfecting the various circular shapes in the bowls and the pitcher and trying to make sure they felt solid and not like oblong and weird. Then I moved over to this weird blue container thingy, and honestly, I think this and the cheese came out the best out of everything. I don't know why this blue pitcher jar thingy looks so good, but like I'm into it. I think I like just got the values right as it's sort of like fading into the background. I don't know. And that was day 5. Day 6. Day 6 was, well, I like didn't want to do it anymore. That's really how it was. Oh. Hi. It's time for me to clock in at the stupid bitch factory. I'm at the point where I'm like borderline not having fun anymore. Let's see where we are, folks. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be that good at forgery. I still want to try it though. You know, I was at kind of like the low point of working on a painting where you just want to quit. I think there's like this sort of valley of how you feel about a painting in that sort of like 40 to 70% area where it just kind of looks terrible. And I was afraid that this was going to turn out badly, and I had put in all of this work and it was going to look awful. Like I said before, if I do something bad, that means that I'm bad and I am worthless. I think it's really healthy to tie all of your value as a person to the things that you make. But I began by just going in and kind of correcting parts of the arm and then fucking them up again, and then correcting those areas and then fucking that up again, and then doing that over and over until it like generally looked better. After taking a bit of time to work on the sleeve as well, I decided to take a break and come back later. When I returned, you know who had to make his grand appearance for the day. Come here. This guy right here. Mommy's gotta torture herself for the entertainment of strangers on the internet. Just chill. Okay. Like the brave, strong woman I am, I persevered through this harassment and attempts of silencing, and got some good detail in the blouse and sleeves, adding definition into like the folds and the stitching a little bit. You need help. You need God. Then I pivoted over to working on the bonnet again, deepening the shadows and tones around her face, and then in the collar and her shirt as well, trying to get like more subtlety in the highlights, which was a real challenge on the screen, as you might imagine, because it does not have the best accuracy. So I didn't really know what I was doing. It kind of just all looked the same, and I was hoping the colors I was choosing were different enough that they worked. And that was the end of day 6. Day 7. Okay, folks. Oh, it's... I don't know what that was. I only have about an hour, so I'm not going to say that I'm going to finish this. But I want to finish this today. I did not finish on that day. So I'm going to come back. It's 5 p.m. now. Going to work until 6. Dinner with family. Then I'm coming back. Going to record some more until 9:30 or 10 o'clock because I hate myself. Alrighty. No more. You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm gonna kill you. Give me $200. I didn't have much time initially on the first part of day 7, and I really wanted to get something finished because I really needed that satisfaction. So I hyper-focused on the blue cloth in the foreground, and like, I'm not super happy with how I did any of her clothes, but I think this cloth piece came out the best out of all of them. And I think like my skills shine the most when I'm not trying to blend things and when I'm just sort of like putting more painterly strokes in next to each other to sort of create the illusion of mixing through like optical mixing. I think that's what I do best, and I really, really suck at blending. So that's probably why this came out better, because it's kind of chunked up a little bit more than the other places are. I switched my attention over to the basket, which I had been putting off because I knew it was going to be really hard. Getting the tones right in such subtle shifts in the shadows like that is very daunting, especially when you add like these little highlights poking through, like because of all of the woven bits. And I was like so scared of making it terrible and it being like a big eyesore, because I think it totally had the potential to be. But it managed out okay, although I kind of generalized things. I didn't really get into as much detail because I just didn't feel confident doing it. So, what's up? Came back later that night, and I didn't really get all that much done, to be honest, or at least it didn't feel like it. I just refined her hand and forearm a little bit more and made some tweaks to the bottom of her skirt, as well as the wall behind her and like the floor area on the bottom right, which up to that point I like pretty much forgot was there, but there's like a surprising amount of detail put there. I don't really know what the symbolic nature of those things are. Like Vermeer's paintings are like a fucking I Spy game because of how many little details are in there. Also, if you ever get the chance to see one of Vermeer's paintings in person, do so, because they are unbelievable in real life. They are so much smaller than you think they would be. They are like tiny for how much detail is in them. You would think these would be like huge 3x4 foot paintings. They are not. They are quite small. They're just amazing to see in person. I'm gonna look up the dimensions. Oh my God. This whole painting is basically 18 inches by 16 inches. That's like nothing. Oh, okay. So the thing on the bottom right is a foot warmer. Oh, there's like a little candle in it. Huh. That's neat. I did not know those things existed. That's fun. Anyway. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Hey, that was the end of day 7. Day 8. The final day. Are we still having fun? I'm functioning. I was about to say I'm functioning on like 50% today. And I think that was all the evidence one might need. Last night I went in, I exported the current version that I have. I went in and highlighted some areas that I think need to be improved before I finish this. Now I have more focus. And it's really just small tweaks now. Like I'm really actually nearly done. Scratch discs are full, bitch. I'll kill you. Uh-oh, I just looked at them side by side and now I hate myself. After airing some grievances about Adobe, I felt strong enough to tackle the window. I was really intimidated by this because, like I have mentioned, the challenge of getting all of those straight lines was real. Uh-oh, this looks like shit. Don't worry. I have a plan. Crying. Just expect everything is gonna go wrong all the time. And when it doesn't, it's like succeeding. And then when it does, you've already emotionally prepared for it. I was then paid a visit by the big man himself, and he really said, fuck your art and your whole camera setup. Oh no, he like actually fucked it up. Cosmo. Stop it! I don't know if it comes across on camera, but Cosmo is gigantic. Usually when people come into my house for the first time, they're like, oh my God, he's so big. See what he did? See that? Hopefully that was the last thing that was inputted because I only have one on due. Let's find out. Oh, thank God. It is so hard being a mom. Like, I just want what's best for him, which is why I'm sending him to conversion therapy. I'm just trying my best, you know? Nobody gave me an instruction manual on how to be a mother. My husband was in that house. What was I doing? This final stretch was really just about fixing some small mistakes or smoothing out some awkward transitions. I felt like some of the ridges on her sleeve and around her wrist were like a bit too abrupt, not really painterly enough, and I wanted to get those kind of elements that I thought were part of the main event to look like they belonged there. I had a surge of energy once I realized the true end was in sight, and it really just needed one more thing. I think this is the last little bit I need to add. And then I think I'm done. We did it. We did it, Cosmo. They said we couldn't do it. They said that. So this is the painting I was trying to make. And this is my decreation of the Quaint Painting from Animal Crossing, aka Vermeer's The Milkmaid, made with only a Nintendo DS Lite and DSi. Wait a minute, stop the music. This was no mere recreation of the Quaint Painting. No, I created a forgery.
Oh my God, he on X Games mode.
So you kind of have to be paying attention in order to decipher whether or not a painting is real or if it's fake. Sometimes I'm like, should I get into forgery? Maybe I wouldn't be that good at forgery. I still want to try it though, you know. I bet you feel pretty stupid right now, and that's my goal, to make you feel stupid. Let me know if I fooled you in the comments, but be vague enough so that if somebody hasn't watched the video all the way through, they won't know what you're talking about, okay? This will be our little secret. Anyway, yeah, recreating this was a real challenge. I spent like 14 hours on this thing. I've scrubbed through so much footage. I kept putting it off because it just felt so daunting. So the next one is going to be a lot easier than this one because I'm not doing this again. A special thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. I objectively love you more. If you want to support me and the pain I like to inflict on myself, please go over to my Patreon and think about becoming a member. It's really helpful. It lets me spend so much time making these ridiculous things. Hopefully I will see you sooner than 2 months from now. But in the meantime, do it.